Zinat the bread seller, in the middle of a chaotic city, where honking cars outnumbered greetings and everyone rushed through life like it was something to escape, there was a little corner where the world felt softer. Not because of the trees, or the quiet, or even the view. But because of her, Zinat, the Baddie Bread Seller, she didn't just sell bread. She sold comfort, joy, safety, wrapped in golden crust and tied with sass. With her gold hoop earrings, almond-shaped eyes lined to perfection, and bold red lipstick that never faded, Zinat looked like the kind of woman who took no nonsense and gave none in return, but behind the confident walk, behind the sharp eyeliner and cold stares, was a girl who had learned to fight for everything, even her morning peace. Zinat's story started in a bakery no bigger than a one-bedroom apartment. Her mother, Zinat, had run it for 18 years. It wasn't fancy, a single oven, a cracked countertop, and second-hand mixing bowls. But that place smelled like heaven. Like vanilla, and cinnamon, and safety. As a child, Zinat would sit on the counter while her mother kneaded dough and told stories. Fairy tales, fables, and sometimes, just the truth. You can make anything with your hands, her mother would say, brushing flour off Zinat's nose. Even your life. Those mornings were everything. But time, like dough, doesn't stop rising. And one day, the story stopped. Cancer came quietly. A shadow in an X-ray. A word the doctors whispered like a secret. Zinat fought with a strength Zinat never forgot. But even strong women fall. And when she did, it was like the air had been punched out of the world. Zinat was 13, people told her she was too young to keep the bakery open. They told her to sell it. To move in with an aunt 3 towns over. To start fresh, but Zinat had already lost everything that mattered. She wasn't about to let go of the only piece of her mother she had left, so she stayed. The first year was. She didn't know the difference between rye and whole wheat. Her loaves were too hard, her hands too soft. Customers stopped coming. Bills stacked like bricks. But she refused to quit. Every mistake was a lesson. Every burnt batch was a promise. I will get better. I will not give up. She taught herself to bake like her mother, by memory, by instinct, by feel. She played Zinat's old records while she walked, sang into the rising steam, and whispered, "Are you proud of me?" When no one was listening, by 17, she was paying rent with bread. By 19, people lined up down the block before sunrise, waiting for her golden sourdough, her spicy olive rolls, her chocolate chip banana buns. But more than the bread, they came for her, for Zinat, the girl who remembered your name and your favorite pastry. The girl who asked about your bad breakup and handed you a warm roll for free. The girl who had lost everything and still smiled like life owed her nothing. They called her the Baddie Bread Seller, part compliment, part legend. And she leaned into it. Wore boots with heels too high. Designed her own aprons that said "Need me, baby." Told off rude customers without blinking, but at night, after the store was packed up and the streets grew quiet, Zinat would walk home alone, exhausted and aching. Sometimes, she still dreamed of her mother. Still reached for her in sleep. And sometimes, the ache hit so hard she'd stand in the middle of her dark kitchen, hold her mother's old apron, and just cry into it until the grief softened enough to breathe again. Then one day, something shifted. A man stopped by the store. He wasn't the usual customer, too well-dressed, too quiet. He bought a loaf of honey oat, thanked her, and left. The next day, he returned. And the next, on the 4th day, he handed her a folded newspaper. Her picture was on the front page, hair tied back, brow furrowed, caught mid-motion as she pulled a steaming tray from the oven. The head. From the oven. The headline read, "The woman who bakes healing into every crumb." "I wrote it," he said. "I'm sorry if that's weird. I've never seen someone do what you do." Zinat stared at the paper. Her throat tightened. "I don't just bake," she said, quietly. "This is all I have." "I know," he replied. That's why it means so much. They became friends after that. Then more. He was gentle in ways she didn't expect. Asked about her favorite kind of flour. Helped wash pans. Listened when she told him stories of her mother. He didn't try to fix her, just held space for the parts that still felt broken, years later, with the help of the community she'd fed for so long. Zinat opened her own bakery, Baddie Butter. It was beautiful, high ceilings, soft lighting, music that made you feel like you were home. There was a community table for anyone who couldn't afford food. A shelf of free books. A little photo of her mother by the register, but every Sunday, Zinat still returned to the original store. Wore her old red lipstick. Played Amira's records. Served bread with side-eye and sugar, not because she had to, because that was where it all began.